Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Think Tank Sports. Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen. Check us out on the socials: Facebook, Twitter, and the IG. Listen to us on Spotify for podcasters or wherever you get your podcasts, and watch us on YouTube. Wow. And if you are watching us on YouTube, you see there's three of us, which is very nice. We are here to talk little New York state of mind, if you will. Bills, Jets, and Giants. We bring Stevie Covers on to talk about his beloved New York Jets and their ultra high expectations to see if they meet them this year or not. And of course, Mike with his New York Giants, fresh off of a playoff berth last year, a re-signed Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones with a big contract. And you got me and my Bills, who, damn, they better make the Super Bowl this year. Anyways, gentlemen, Mike, you first. How the heck are you?
I'm doing great. It's that time of year. I don't know about you guys, but the leaves have turned a little or started. It's been nice and cool. Although it's supposed to be super hot this week.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in the 90s here this week.
Favorite time of year after this week. Fall, the air is crisp and football's in the air, boys. And it's a lot more fun when your team could possibly be a contender. So that's where I'm at. Stevie, how's life in the Midwest?
Life is good here, fellas. Thanks for asking. I love you're both wearing your NFL gear. Dave and his Bills attire. Mike's got his Giants on. I got my Syracuse shirt on. After they stomped Colgate
65-0. Brushed them right out of there.
Yes. All the dentist jokes. But
yes.
Yeah, it was good. It was good to see, though. It was a dominant performance. It was one of those games you look at the schedule, you're like, oh, man, I hope we don't struggle with this. And they didn't. So that was nice.
They did what they were supposed to do.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just jump right into it, boys. I'm chomping at the bit for my Giants, and I forgot, Dave, you touched on it. The best thing they did in the offseason, in my opinion, is sign Saquon to the 1-year tender offer and give Danny Dimes the longer contract, and that kind of squashes everyone's complaints about overpaying a running back, which is true. You should not ever overpay a running back. In my opinion, though, Saquon is a once-in-a-generation talent. We beg for those guys to get drafted and perform, and now that we got him, why would we want to let him walk? I just think he's that kind of talent. So I would ultimately like to see Saquon stay with the Giants long term, but they made everyone happy and got a representative team on the field. Listening to Dayball talk about last year a little bit, he said at one point they had legitimately 25 players that he trusted on a 53-man active roster on Sunday.
Ouch.
And that's what he did with those 25 players. So I'm so excited to see what they're going to do this year. And the position group I wanted to bring up is wide receiver. So the Giants last year, of course, they beat the Minnesota Vikings. And, we all knew Minnesota was overrated and vulnerable. And they did what they had to do. And then, get blown out by Philadelphia. But listen to the names, boys, of who the leading receivers were in the second round playoff game. Darius Slayton had 5 catches. Somebody named Tanner Hudson had 3. I believe he was a tight end. Wayndale Robinson, who's back this year. Breida, the running back. Chris Masick. David Sills. There's not a legitimate NFL wide receiver except for Slayton and maybe Robinson, we'll see, on that roster. This year, massive upgrade just in, professionalism and experience. A guy like Paris Campbell has been with the Colts for a few years, certainly will be a nice number 4 and can step up when needed, give Danny Dimes some options. And then, of course, the big Darren Waller tight end upgrade. So, as if you can't tell, folks, I'm pretty jacked up about the offense this year for sure. It's going to just grow and grow as they all come together. And the O line has made huge strides. Preseason last year was like Swiss cheese, and they really Andrew Thomas at left tackles seems to be the real deal. And
Yep.
I just like what they're doing on offense. So I guess so I don't keep talking for another 10 minutes. If you would react to the offense and what I just said about that, or any of the other stuff, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, what you said was very offensive.
Yeah.
See what I did there?
Too.
Aha. No, I think Mike, you raised the good point, right? The defense was pretty solid last year, which you didn't talk about, of course, but the offense is the side that really needed some additional weapons, some additional upgrades. I mean, we know the injuries just crippled them, and particularly in the wide receiver core last year.
Right.
To get some of these players, Darren Waller is a tremendous talent. As long as he can stay healthy, I mean, he is just a matchup nightmare, and just tremendous. I'm surprised you didn't mention Cole Beasley that ended up on there as well.
No, but I didn't. Who I really didn't mention is Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee. That
Yes.
kid is going to be something.
Yep,
So.
the rookie from Tennessee. Yep. So I'm with you. They made some nice upgrades. Still gotta tell me who's the number one, the A1. And I know we talked about that last year as the Giants not having that.
Yeah.
And that may be one of the things that maybe keeps them from, a Super Bowl this particular year. But the upgrades in the wide receiver department certainly make them a lot more challenging to play against for sure. And there's a lot of good defenses in the NFC.
Yeah, for sure. I think you'll see Shepard or Slayton be the one to start the season, and hopefully Hyatt takes it over by the end of the year. Is kind of, I believe, what the plan is.
Mm-hmm.
Steve, what do you think about the Giants' offense and anything I reviewed?
Yeah, I'm not as sold on the Giants as a lot of people are. Here around the league, a lot of people saying, "Oh, the Giants are going to make the playoffs," and I kind of think the Giants.
That actually.
I think they will make the playoffs. I mean, if you take a look at their schedule, like the road is paved in gold for the Giants to get to the playoffs. So if they don't, man, that is going to be a tough pill to swallow, fresh off the huge Daniel Jones contract. But I think the key is something you guys both touched on already. I think Dave said injuries decimated the wide receiver core last year, and then not 5 seconds later he said Darren Waller's got to stay healthy. Paris Campbell, Paris Campbell, injury prone guy. Sterling Shepard, injury prone guy. So it's going to be a huge question mark for the Giants as far as the ball catchers. I do really I agree with you, Mike, what they did with Saquon, signing him to a 1-year deal. They get kind of, Josh Jacobs got the same kind of thing with the Raiders. I'm wondering if that's going to be the new norm for running backs, kind of play out your first contract, then you get a 1-year deal, and then good luck. That's about the age where they start, the tread starts coming off the tires a little bit. But so I think Paris Campbell is a great addition because he's explosive. Darren Waller obviously is a matchup nightmare. Like maybe 2 guys in the NFL can actually cover him. So if those guys stay healthy, I think it'll be great. Jalen Hyatt, Mike, I think he could be a number 1 wide receiver. Like he's that type of talent. So I think it'll take him a little while to pick up the game. I saw him in the preseason a little bit, and he was exactly what we were expecting, talented but raw. So I think he'll take a little bit of development. But I don't know. I'm just not as high on the Giants as everybody else is. Like I didn't think they were that great last year. Yeah, they made the playoff. They beat a team of frauds from Minnesota. We all were saying they were frauds the entire season. And then the Giants beat them, and then were completely outclassed by the Eagles. So, I mean, it's gonna take a big step forward by the Giants this year for me to buy in, and I'll have to see it to believe it.
Well, that's fair. The 25 legitimate NFL players up to 53. I think hopefully we'll fill in those gaps.
Cole Beasley's one of them.
Well, he could wear a mascot uniform or, get some pom poms.
Yeah.
Defensively, I love the pass rush now. Leonard Williams is nice, but he's not going to be a superstar, especially against the run. But Thibodeau is raw, but man, that's some that's talent right there. If he could keep his mouth shut and stay, focused on the field, and then I think Dexter Lawrence is one of the most unsung talented players in the NFL. I mean, he is dominant in the middle, and you have to double him almost every play out, it seems like, especially early in the downs. Dave, how long have I been begging the Giants to draft a linebacker? I feel like we haven't had a middle linebacker since Antonio Pierce. I mean, really, it's been that long. That's what it feels like. Yeah, Blake Martinez was nice, but he never really was healthy for us. And we've had some guys, but to go get that Simmons kid from Arizona, who they were totally mismanaging his career. They had him playing safety, pass rush, linebacker, and he said, I just never felt like I had a defined role there. And add him to, the Ojolares and these guys that are all developing. It's still not, linebacker wise where it could be, but, I just love where they've upgraded there. Now, the secondary, I'm not very confident in secondary, boys. So talk to me, help me, or am I right? Darnay Holmes and Josh Pinnock, just not getting it done for me.
Yeah, and I think that's for the Giants. I think that's scary. It's scary for any team that doesn't have good secondary play because it's dominated. The league dominated by wide receivers. Yeah, I don't know. You've got 6', 6'2". I mean, not totally huge to deal with some of the bigger wide receivers. That would concern me a little bit.
I mean, Andre Jackson, he's going to cover the other team's one. And again, another injury-prone player. When he's healthy, he's very, very good. But injuries have plagued him quite a bit over his career. So, Stevie, what do you think about the Giants' defense?
Yeah, well, the other two guys you mentioned that are playing defensive back, Jason Pinnock, who was passed out by the Jets at some point, and back when they were not very good. And then the other guy whose name I didn't even recognize when you said it. I mean,
Darnay Holmes.
Yeah, it's gonna be a problem, against AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and CD Lamb and Brandon Cooks. I mean, it's
Terry McLaurin in Washington. Yeah, there's some
Don Dotson. Like, it's gonna be a problem. Yeah, I do like the Isaiah Simmons signing. I'm glad you mentioned that. Like, is he going to play middle linebacker? Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's what they're going to. He's going to wear the sticker and call the plays and be a classic middle linebacker, which I'm excited about. Like I said, he can certainly cover tight ends, which has been a Giants issue forever. Tight ends always kill us. I mean, who is our boy Schultz on the Cowboys that just. If he only played us, he'd be a Pro Bowler. You know what I mean? He just killed us, and it just always seems to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I gotta mention our MVP, Graham Gano. I mean, the great Gano.
Yep.
What are you gonna do? So overall, obviously, you could tell I'm very positive. The schedule's breaking right. I do not like Steve that people are picking us to make the playoffs. I'd rather it be like under the radar a little bit, but it's nice to be excited before week one for a change. The past 5-6 years it's been brutal, but and then of course the coaching staff. I mean, the combination of Wink Martindale as the defensive coordinator and Daboll, head coach, just I just think is top notch as you can get right now in the NFL. So
team's in good hands as far as the coaching staff goes.
Yeah, and
there's no doubt.
Front office. So Dave, I'm gonna say, can you give us the Vegas Insider then over unders for the
it's 8.5 for the Giants. 8.5.
I gotta take the
So they were
over. That seems
nine,
a little
nine,
disrespect
7-1
almost.
last year.
Oh, the freaking top line.
Um,
Yeah.
so you know,
Yeah.
feels about spot on. My thing, and this could work in the Giants' favor, like Steve was saying, they don't get the Eagles until week 16. Now they have to play them
Yeah.
2 of the last 3 weeks,
Right.
but they have the opportunity to, build up some wins and or be able to catch them at the end of the year because they have to play them twice. So that could work in their favor.
Yep.
Um,
So I'm taking the over on 8.5. I don't think they're gonna win 13 or anything like that, but
no,
I
no, they're
think they
yeah. Go
10
ahead.
and 7, 10 and 7 is what I would say.
Yeah,
What
I mean,
say
there's
you?
enough talent there to get
Right.
minimally 9 wins.
And like Stevie said, the seamy underbelly of the schedule, especially in the middle of the year, should add to that. What do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I like the over for the Giants as well. Over 8.5. I mean, that puts them at 9-8. It's half a game over 500 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
With the talent, just with the talent they have, they should be able to pull that off against their schedule. I like how Dave mentioned. They play the Eagles in their last game, where the Giants will probably be fighting for a playoff spot, and the Eagles theoretically should have it locked up. So,
Right.
maybe they get the backups that week and they can squeeze out another win. So I do like the over for the Giants.
When we can get Doug Peterson to come back and put in the third string quarterback in the fourth quarter. But he owes us one. So, I mean, somebody yell at me or punch me or something. I'm too happy. I'm too positive about this
No,
Giants
I
team.
look, I think you
Right.
should be.
Right.
Last year, the thought was, okay, we got Dayball, we got Joel Shan, let's see what happens. They exceeded expectations. We know that. We talked about that.
Oh yeah.
So now the expectations are a little bit higher.
Yep.
And like you said, they went out and made some improvements. There's reason to be excited in New Jersey.
So let's keep it right in New Jersey then, Dave, and our stepbrothers that share the stadium with us. The New York,
Jets, Jets.
Yes. Oh
the
my.
Aaron Rodgers porn film that is HBO's Hard Knocks. I don't know, Steve, have you caught any of it? It's bad, dude. I mean,
I've watched every
they're
episode
on
twice.
his, you know what? Yeah.
Oh yeah, you knew they were gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Rightfully so. It's a huge upgrade, all-time great,
Sure.
all of that, and more left in the tank than when they've done that with Favre or anybody else they brought in. Testaverde, all those guys. Anyway,
I mean, I could have used
this
a
is the
little more
part where I
Quinn
shut up and
Williams.
you talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I could use a little more Quinn Williams. I love that guy. Everything he says cracks me up. I would have loved to see more of it on Hard.
That's fair.
Yeah, listen, it's the Jets are all over the media, right? Like Mike, you said you were a little uncomfortable with everyone picking the Giants to go to the playoffs. Like,
yeah,
it seems like half the media is picking the Jets to go to the Super Bowl or as a Super Bowl caliber team. As a lifelong Jets fan nearing 40, you can imagine how that makes me feel on the inside. Like we know how this ends, right?
Yes.
It's
Aaron Rodgers
it's
hurt in week 1, gone for the year.
No. That would be way too easy, Dave. That'd be way too easy.
Oh no, we've got to drag you out until week 18 and then crumble.
Rodgers going to play great for most of the season. The Jets they start the season out with a tough first 6 games. So they'll start 2-4, even though Rodgers plays really well. And then week 14 is when he'll go down with an injury, and we'll need to get we'll need 2 wins from Zach Wilson to close out the season to get to the playoffs, and it won't happen. And by that time, Rodgers will have played enough snaps that we have to give the Packers our first round pick anyway. So like that's how this is going to play out. Black Friday, the Jets have the national Black Friday game against the Dolphins.
Oh yes.
Tua's going to be hurt. Mike White's going to start, and he's going to blow up this. This is how the Jets fan brain operates. Like all of this.
You have seen this movie before, yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
You've thought this out.
Yeah,
Different
so
players, same story.
that's all coming from the heart. Now, my head tells me the Jets overachieved last year. They took a giant step forward last year. I don't even want to say overachieved. They exceeded expectations.
Yep,
So
that's fair.
I don't think they overachieved.
Mhm.
They took a giant step forward. Obviously, they've made a lot of really good roster additions this year with, with Rodgers and Alan Lazard and Dalvin freaking Cook. It's awesome to see the Jets actually trying to do something. I hope it's not a Steve Cohen type of offseason with maxing all this talent, and then it gets flushing right down the toilet.
Mhm.
Yeah, there.
It reminds me a lot, and I hope it's not for your sake. Remember when the Eagles signed Mike Vick was like, this is an all-star team, or the Redskins when Bruce Smith and Dion ended up down there and all that. I really, for your sake, hope it's not that. And I don't think it is. This is a more solid group. What do you
Yeah,
think,
hopefully.
Stevie, about the offensive line? There's a lot of consternation about that right now. What do you? But I think it's smoke and mirrors. I think they're going to be fine.
I think they're going to be fine too. Yeah, it feels like the script has been flipped on that recently. Now that Dwayne Brown is back and Mekhi Becton has cemented himself as the right tackle.
It's a big dude.
That is a large man.
6'7", 363 pounds.
After losing 60 pounds.
Please tell me how any defensive player moves him. I literally just cannot see somebody moving him. Maybe they go around him because they're fast, but there's no freaking way somebody is moving somebody of that size. Could you imagine one of us running into him? I mean, we'd bounce 10 feet off of him.
Oh, I don't think I would.
Wheelchair?
I think I would crumble and die at his feet. Maybe the only offensive lineman in the league who does the Reggie White club to defend Brightman. It just takes him out of the big old bear paw. It's a lot of fun.
Very good.
Yeah, so my head is telling me this Jets team should be good. Like we should compete with the best teams. Even watching last year, we competed with really good teams last year. Didn't have our two best offensive players for the last 10 games. Still we're in the playoff hunt down the stretch. So
yeah.
My head tells me there's every reason to be excited about this. My heart just won't let me get there for some reason. My heart's just like, Steve, don't jump in the deep end.
So
and I remember feeling that way with the Bills a few years ago too, after they had gotten into the playoffs, played that horrendous game against Houston, a game they should have won, but then like the expectations go up and you're just like, yeah, my team's been so bad for so long.
And every time you think something good is happening, nope, forget about it. That's not going to happen that way. It's going to explode and go the worst way possible.
So what would it take, Steve, for you to jump on with your heart? How do we get down to the cockles of your heart, the subcockle region, really down in there?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be a month
Super Bowl
already. We're going to be a month into the season before I fully jump in. It's
okay.
our like I said, our first 6 games, we've got the Bills, we've got the Chiefs, we've got the Eagles. It's a really tough first 6 for us. So, if they can start with 4 wins in those 6 games, then I'll be like, okay, like this is a legitimate team. But I don't see it happening. I just don't. I think
it's a really difficult schedule.
There's also the possibility they start 1-5 in those games, and then Aaron Rodgers does his crybaby thing, and the team implodes. Like that's in the realm of possibility as well.
Yeah. Well, now they do have 4 of the first 6 at home, so that is good. The Chiefs, they play at home, the Eagles, they play at home, but they, and the Bills, they play at home. So the road games are at Dallas and at Denver. I think we're thinking that the Patriots and the Broncos are potentially the 2 wins, and then you see what else happens. Then they have the bye week, right? So after 6 games, regardless of what happens, they're going to get a feel for everything. And then they play the Giants in week 8.
Yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
That'll be a litmus test for both teams. Oh, look at that. We're right on the same page, Mike.
Yeah, the Jets have 9 home games this year, and one of their road games is still at MetLife because it's at the Giants. So,
Right.
they have the easiest travel schedule in the league this year. I
Yeah.
saw it by like miles flown or something like that. But the teams that
Interesting.
they play, it's pretty brutal.
Yeah, because they go at Denver, like I said, and at the Raiders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, those are their farthest trips.
Yep.
Talk
Yep.
to me about their defense, Steve. CJ Mosley, I've always loved him, but another player that can't stay healthy. Um, do they
Yeah.
have enough pass rush? Also,
Do they
can
have
you
enough
touch on
pass?
that?
Oh, yeah, they have plenty of pass rush. Yeah,
Okay.
their defensive line is going to be problematic for every team that they face. I
Yep.
see
Okay.
Dave nodding his head because I
Because
know
they
he's
because
worried
they
about
were
the Bills'
last year in the
offensive
two
Choice.
line.
games against the Bills. The Bills
Yeah,
had terrible
yeah,
problems trying to, corral them. And yeah,
yeah. Quinnen Williams is one of the 3 best defensive tackles in the NFL. And then they've got Jermaine Johnson. Looks like he is taking a huge leap
Mm,
this year. Like he looks like a different player than he did last year. So I cannot wait to see him. Maybe putting a couple bucks on him to get a sack in the first game of the year against
oh,
Dave's Bills. But no, we've got plenty of guys who can rush the passer. I'm not worried about it. Carl Lawson can rush the passer. The new kid Will McDonald is a
yeah.
freak. He's an
Iowa
absolute
State. Yeah.
athletic freak. So yeah, I'm not worried about that. Linebacker is the one area where I am worried. Like CJ Mosley obviously he's a quarterback playing
Yeah.
in his head playing middle linebacker. Then we have Quincy Williams, who's Quinnen's little brother. Super athletic. If he's in the right spot, he's going to make the play, but that's big if. And if anyone on the linebacking core gets hurt, we are in big trouble. So that's our weak spot is going to be the linebackers. And our defensive backs, I even mentioned DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner. I mean, maybe the best tandem in the NFL.
Yeah. I Sauce came in with that instant reputation and earned it. Yeah. I've never seen uh, somebody get that status so quickly. Revis Island and all that didn't start, for a couple of years until they earned that. And he had it coming in and he exceeded expectations. So, what a tremendous player. Talk to me about, I guess, Steve, I've never been sold on Robert Saleh as a head coach. He's got a little used car salesman to me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
everything's gray, and he always it feels like one of those people that tells people what they want to hear in the moment, you know.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I don't follow him as closely as you do. So what do you feel about him?
Honestly, the jury's still out on Robert Saleh. This year might even be a throwaway year because it kind of feels like I heard the analogy the other day. It kind of feels like when a big actor is attached to a movie project and he says, "Hey, bring me this director because he'll just let me do what I want to do." Like that's kind of how it feels with Aaron Rodgers and Robert Saleh,
Right.
and Nate Hackett, obviously. So yeah, this might even like we may not learn a lot about Saleh this year either. And I I don't know. I feel like he gets along really well with the players. I feel like he holds them accountable. I think he thinks of himself as more of an inspirational speaker than he actually is. Like when he talks, like I feel like he thinks he's really hitting it, and I'm just like, okay, whatever, Bob.
Right.
But I do think he does a good job of holding people accountable. I
Okay.
think he does well at the CEO role. So
Yeah, I was gonna say
I
he follows the CEO model of management. Right.
yeah. So short answer, I'm lukewarm on him.
Okay. Dave, what do you have a opinion on Salah at
no,
all?
I mean, I think it's more the same. I think there's been some questionable game management decisions, which I think leads to also lacking in confidence a little bit with him. But as Steve was saying, though, I would go the other way and say this could be a really challenging year where you could find out what Robert Saleh is made of because of all the expectations, because Aaron Rodgers is there. Can he, you know, unlikely, but can he reel Aaron Rodgers in? Can he get him to do the things that the Jets need him to do to be successful? Some of that's going to fall. there on Robert Saleh. So I'm going to go the other way and say, this is a big year for him because of all the moves that they've made.
Well, ultimately, I think the flaw is they don't want to rein Rodgers in. He has carte blanche, as Steve said. Whatever play you want to call, formation, you want to bring Randall Cobb in to give you back rubs and supply you with ayahuasca or whatever it is he does. Fine, we'll do whatever. So it'll be interesting because there are going to be moments where Saleh's going to have to stand up to Rodgers, which seems weird to say since he's the head coach, but it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. So what's the over under? Oh, Steve, I'm sorry. We're gonna.
That's okay. Yeah. No. One last thought. Yeah, because it's what you said, Mike. Like they brought Rodgers in to be Aaron Rodgers. They brought him in for his leadership to help mold guys. Like, yeah. The Hard Knocks has been kind of unbearable with all the Aaron Rodgers stuff. But as a Jets fan, to see that from our when's the last time we saw that from a Jets quarterback? It's been so refreshing and so nice to see. And I'm getting text messages from all my friends that are not Jets fans. Like, oh, there's crybaby Rodgers, pitchers fit on the sideline. I'm like, I see a guy being a leader. That's what I see.
Right. Yeah.
So, so I'm excited about that.
Okay, great.
Yep. No, sounds good. Yeah. Over under for the Jets is 9.5.
Steve, your team, you get first react.
Yeah, the advice for gambling is to take emotion out of it, take your heart out of it. Go with my head. I'm going to go over the 9.5 because anything less than that is going to be like if they go 9-8, that's a failure of a season. So 10 wins is the floor for saying, okay, we did okay this year. So I'm going to, and I think they get there.
Okay. David?
Yeah, I'm thinking that too. I'm looking at the schedule, Falcons, Texans, Browns, Broncos,
2 wins against the Bills,
2 wins against the Patriots. I think it's there. Certainly with their defense, they're going to be in every game, and that's going to help them tremendously because then you can get, a Breece Hall punt return for a touchdown that changes the flow of the game, right? So I think I would do the over as well for the Jets.
Yeah, I'm going to say over as well. I know that's not good podcasting because we all agree. But
it's good for me. I like to hear it.
Yeah, no, it is what it is. I don't think, like the Giants, I don't think they're going to be drastically over. But no. I do too much talent, too much experience. We didn't even touch on the running back room with Breece Hall and Michael Carter and
Dalvin Cook.
Dalvin Cook.
Right. Yeah, so it is an embarrassment of riches in that area. So, all right, we're positive so far. David, the Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills. Boy, everybody it's so interesting to me because there have been so many other storylines of other teams in the offseason, and certainly the Jets are right up there and all the moves they've made and all the different quarterbacks moving around, and here's the Bills just kind of cruising along, doing their thing, making some improvements. Even though he's a Patriot, I like the addition of Damian Harris, Latavius Murray, another one, just kind of beefing up the running back position. You saw that in some of the preseason, and Harris came in some short yardage situations, bang the ball in there. Anything that can take some of that running pressure off of Josh Allen. I mean, they're still going to have him do it. Obviously, it's a part of their offense, and that will continue. No, I still feel very, very good about the Bills. I think a lot of people have written them off. Look, I think they have a lot to prove after that absolutely no show against the Bengals in the playoffs. Absolute no show. And I mean, I said it at the time. It just stunned me how awful they played in that game. Cincinnati looked like they knew everything the Bills were going to do, and the Bills, like, they made no adjustments, nothing. So it'll be interesting. They get to play Cincinnati again this year, Sunday night, halfway through the year in week 9. So we'll see how that plays out. But no, I think the Bills have done some good things. The biggest storyline, of course, is the middle linebacker spot. And they, trying to figure out who's playing there. And, we've settled on, Terrell Bernard and Tyrell Dodson in that mix. And Dodson has a little bit more of experience. Bernard's just in his second year out of Baylor. That's going to be concerning. And I think that, that's a big piece. Now you have Matt Milano on the defense, and he's going to help a lot with these guys coming along and getting into things. But that middle linebacker spot has been, huge for the Bills, and having such a steady influence, and not to have that, I think, is mildly concerning. But you look at, again, if they can stay healthy, Tre'Davious White looks much better. He came back at the end of last year, was not the same player. Dane Jackson with a little more experience. He's the weak link there, but hopefully he'll be better. And Poyer and Hyde, Hyde back from injury. So they've got all the talent in the world there. Von Miller is on the PUP list, so he's not going to play until week 5. He's got to be out there for the big games. There's no doubt about that. As we got down the stretch, they definitely needed him for some games and didn't have him. And in the playoffs too. That hurt. That definitely hurt. But they've done some really good things, and they didn't need to do a ton. But that's my overall sense, concerned about the middle linebacker spot. But I really like, the moves that they made as far as everything else goes with the team.
So we're going to release tomorrow our AFC tier maker for the season, and how we feel about all these teams. But I'll give you a little sneak preview here, Steve, and our tens of fans. We only had 2 teams in the Super Bowl contender category, and one of them, we ended up with 3. But I did not vote for the Buffalo Bills to be in the Super Bowl contender. I certainly believe they're a playoff contender. So here's why, Dave. And then so I didn't tell anybody why in that podcast. I'm telling you now. Two areas, and you just touched on one of them. The second area, I believe, has been drastically overrated the past few years. I haven't seen them be shut down when they need to. I think Kansas City's still scoring from 2 years ago.
Well, they did beat Kansas City in the regular season last year, Mike, and they were able to get an interception off of Patty Mahomes at the end of the game. Just as a reminder for you.
Go ahead and put that banner up in the
okay.
Ring of Honor.
I'm just saying.
I think Poyer and Hyde in particular are very overrated. I think they're too small. I've always thought that they've gotten too much credit, and now they're older, Dave. The team's been together a while, and with the wide receiver talent in the NFL, I just feel like they're a notch below what everyone's saying. And then on offense, what are they doing at wide receiver, buddy? You got Stephon Diggs, who, everyone knows is the focal point. Gabe Davis, who started out a few years ago as a 4 and was worked his way up to, the slot, and now he's going to be the 2. And someone named Khalid Shaker.
Khalil Shakir. Yes. Yeah. He was a rookie last year.
His brother was in there too. Yeah. I don't think they have enough talent. They've drastically overrated their talent at wide receiver. And I'm not sure they solved the tight end thing either. I know Kincaid's a rookie that's going to do well, but with Darren Waller on the market, how did you guys not go and get him? If you're truly a Super Bowl contender, you got to go make, like you did Von Miller last year, you got to make that move, and you just didn't. And I'm grateful because you came to the Giants. Yeah. So I think wide receivers is thin, and secondary is drastically overrated and older. And that's why I think that they're going to be just a notch below. I'm not saying they're going to be terrible or anything like that, but they remind me of the Saints from the last decade. Always on the cusp, And for whatever reason, it didn't work. Of course, the Saints caught 2 bad breaks in a row, but they're plenty of opportunities to win those playoff games and go to the Super Bowl. And it just kind of reminds me of the Saints, where they have all this talent and everyone's high on them, and something happens, and they're just like 5% overrated. So that's my spiel, Dave. React to me.
Well, one thing I would say, Gabe Davis, I think is a great talent. He was hurt for a good part of last year. Came back, was not the same after he came back. He's had a full year, full off season to get healthy. Shakir was good.
But is Gabe Davis really a 2? I mean, is he
oh
really?
yeah. Oh, I think
Okay.
so. I don't think there's any question.
Steve,
I
what do
just
you think about Gabe Davis?
He wasn't healthy last year, and that hurt him.
Yeah, I think Gabe Davis is a very talented wide receiver who drops way more balls than he should. That's what I think Gabe Davis is.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Dave, I'm sorry.
Nope, no, it's fine. Again, yeah, no, I think Shakir is good. Lots of comments in camp about Trent Sherfield from Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Again, just he's another wide receiver that's in the mix that did well. Dawson Knox is a tremendous tight end. He regressed a little bit last year. My impressions, I just think Josh Allen didn't look for him as much as he had in the past. He certainly looks for him down in the red zone more. And I think, Kincaid is going to push Knox, and Kincaid's going to be in there. I mean, they've already said they've got a lot of 2 tight end formations there where he's going to make an impact. So I think they're going to be fine there. Your point is well taken about Hyde and Poyer. They are both 32 years old. Certainly could be some concern there as far as that goes, but I still think they're way more talented than everybody else in the division.
Okay. Steve, I'll get to you in 1 second. I didn't touch on the running backs either. Are you happy with the running back room?
Oh yeah. I mean, I mentioned right out of the gate with Harris and Murray. I really do like James Cook. He came on, as the season went on last year, and I think he's going to blossom. And he just needs to not turn the ball over. Be able to get enough runs to keep them honest with Josh Allen. And I think he can do that. This is, long gone are the days of the running back league. He has to be serviceable and reliable. I think he's more than that. So I feel confident there. And again, with Harris and Murray, it's just going to provide a change of pace that I think is going to be really good for them.
Steve, what do you think about our little back and forth here?
Yeah. So again, it's a head versus heart thing. Obviously, as a Jets fan, and not a huge fan of the Buffalo Bills, especially after last year when the fans were insufferable the entire season, and that amounted to absolutely bagel for the Buffalo Bills. It started after the draft with Punt God, and it didn't stop until they got the curb stomped by the Cincinnati Bengals.
Punt God has been exonerated. Just playing.
I'm saying when they drafted him, they were
I know
punter that ever lived. He's better than Ray Guy. Okay, great.
Look up Ray Guy if you don't know, folks.
Dave, I like Damian Harris. I think he upgrade over Devin Singletary. I always thought Singletary was overrated, and I think Damian Harris is underrated as a running back. So I do like that move. I think they improved their running back position in the offseason. Other than that, what did they upgrade? I mean, they took a tight end in the first round, which they already had a pretty good tight end. You even said so, Dave.
Yep.
This kid they drafted is older than Kyle Pitts, by the way, who's been in the league for
oh really?
yes.
Yeah, he's an old man already. So I didn't understand their draft pick there. I understand he's a talented player, but I don't know.
he couldn't have been the best talent on the board. But,
Right.
You know what I mean? So what was the idea? Good call.
Exactly. Yeah. I think you nailed it with the linebackers, Dave. Obviously Matt Milano is a tremendous player. Can't call him underrated anymore because he was in the top NFL top 100. So everyone, the secret's out on Matt Milano. But for middle linebacker, you named two guys who I watch a lot of AFC East games. I've never heard of either of those gentlemen. So I'm a little concerned about the linebacker.
And you used the word settled. We settled on. Yeah, you don't want to settle.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then the big question for me, Dave, is going to be, can Josh Allen go back to back? Can he lead the league in turnovers 2 years in a row, which he did last year? This dude is so overrated. Josh Allen is the most overrated player in the NFL. Everyone talks about, MVP hopes. He's an MVP type player. I forget, Dave. Did he finish first team or second team All NFL, All Pro last year?
All right. Well, the league is very quarterback heavy.
Neither.
So,
okay.
No.
What about the year before that? Was he first team or second team All Pro?
All right.
Oh, neither. Okay. So this is the guy that we're talking about. Everybody wants to make him an MVP. He misses throws all the time. When he played good defenses last year, he was terrible. He threw some ugly interceptions in the Jets games. Dave, you're talking about you're tooting the Bills' horn. They beat the Chiefs in the regular season last year, but I didn't hear you mention the game where they lost to Zach Wilson. Without the Jets' two best offensive players, might I add. I didn't hear you mention the other Jets game where the Jets outgained the Bills and the Bills barely eked one out against Mike White when Matt Milano cracked Mike White's ribs halfway through the game. Yeah. So no, I'm not sold on the Buffalo Bills. I don't know what the win total is in Vegas, but I'm taking the under because the Bills are going to finish third in the AFC East.
It's 10.5. 10.5.
Give me the under.
Dave, I didn't want to be as mean as Steve just was.
Oh, that's okay. Steve and I have a thing
I love
going
you.
on.
I care about you. I want to tell you the truth. Okay, so I'm going to be harsh, but it doesn't mean I don't care.
Yeah. Oh, I think you already were harsh.
I think 10's the right number, so I guess I'm obligated to say under, but I'm not as fervent about it as Steve just was. I do think Miami is going to have to be dealt with for sure. But on the other hand, I also think the Patriots are down drastically. So, maybe that balances out in the AFC East. So Dave, you said 10.5. What are you taking, buddy?
Oh, I'm taking the over. I'm taking the over. I mean, they've got Denver, they've got Tampa, New England twice.
Yeah.
The Raiders. I mean, there's going to be. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be some difficult wins, or some difficult games. But yeah, they're too good, in my opinion, to be below 10.5, to be at 10 wins. I just don't see it. Maybe I've got the blinders on, and going more with my heart than my head. But they're just too talented. Josh Allen is the only quarterback ever, Stevie Covers, with 4,000 yards and 750 yards, 4,000 yards passing, 750 yards rushing in 2 seasons. The only one ever. Now I know we got it. Quarterbacks get, rated by playoff wins and Super Bowl wins, but what he has now has put together some unbelievable statistical seasons. Even in a time when quarterbacks are putting up unbelievable statistical seasons. They're just too good. And I think too much focus on these other teams. They're going to be the class of the division. The Bills have to be dealt with. We're talking about the Dolphins have to be dealt with. The Bills have to be dealt with. So there you go. Hard and fast.
November, it would be interesting to see how healthy they are going into November, because they play the Bengals on a Sunday night game, and then their Broncos
which is
Jets,
Monday night. Yep.
Monday night. Right. Then they have Jets, Eagles, week 13 bye week, Chiefs, Cowboys, Chargers.
Yep. It is definitely
That's rough.
without a doubt
Yeah.
the meat of the schedule.
Yep.
And the very hard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 7 games. That's and they finish up at the Dolphins.
Yeah, listen, I could have sat here and said positive things about the Bills for 5 minutes straight, but that's not what we're here for.
Every other podcast is doing that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So let's wrap this podcast up with this. Finish this sentence and I'll start. At the end of the season, my team is going to, and my fill in the blank will be, lose in the divisional round of the playoff game. Dave, at the end of the season, the Buffalo Bills are going to
be in the Super Bowl.
Steve, at the end of the season, the New York Football Jets, 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 Fireman Ed, and the boys are going to be.
There's so much up in the air with the Jets. I'm just gonna say win up a playoff game. Like maybe it's more than that. But there's so many unanswered questions with them. I don't want to go any further than that.
Yeah, I can see them in the Saturday afternoon Nickelodeon Slime Time game against a Tennessee or whatever crappy game they put in there in that first wild card round. But
yep.
Boys, what a fun and lively conversation. We definitely delved into some mature subject matter and definitely went in many directions. It's going to be a great season. All three of our teams, at least right now, look like they're going to be contenders and certainly interesting and fun to watch. I think the fun quotient, especially probably the Jets, are probably the number one fun team between the three of us. Rodgers throwing dimes 80 yards downfield and all that stuff. And then probably the Bills and the Giants. They're not going to be flashy, but they're going to be fun for me because they'll be on the positive side of things. So there we are, folks. Let us know, react to us, what you think of anything we said here. Send us on social media your win totals or maybe a point we missed or you disagree with. Check us out on the X, 10X if you're with us, or on Insta, Facebook for old people still there. We're not on the TikTok or the Snap Face, so don't look for us there. But react to us. Let us know what you think. It's going to be a great season in our New York State of Mind podcast. We thank you for listening here at Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen as we strive for 5. Good night, everybody. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Dave.